Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man's Court channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I got another book reading video for you guys, and this one's from the They Saw Sasquatch book, and it's stories that was collected by Gary and Wendy Swanson. Now, the chapter I'm reading out of here today takes place at the Sturgis Fork Trail in June of 2014. So here we go. I've been following your Facebook page for a while now, and I just saw your post about having space for a few more Bigfoot stories. I've never told this story to anyone other than a couple of close friends, but have decided to share it with you. I've hiked all over southern Oregon, and even though I'd been on Grayback Mountain before, I hadn't taken the Sturgis Fork Trail before. It's a rough old road, but once I traded in my Subaru for a Jeep Wrangler, I figured I'd finally be able to make it to the trailhead. First of all, I'm glad that this person was brave enough to come forward with their story, but also I've never been to Grayback Mountain. But if it's got a lot of trails that are steep and you wouldn't be able to make it through with your regular vehicle, you might need something with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. But I hate to imagine the price of parts if you break something. Early one summer morning, my dogs and I set out for a day of hiking. I have two bull mastiffs. People always tell me I shouldn't hike alone, but I feel safe with my two kids. The male, his name is Brutus, and he weighs about 150 pounds. My little girl, Annie, is smaller at 100 pounds. I carry my water and lunch for all of us, while Brutus carries some extra water in his saddlebags. Oh, that's probably adorable to look at, two dogs carrying saddlebags. Kind of like a pony or donkey would. We were the only vehicle there when we arrived at the trailhead. I wasn't surprised, as this is not a very well-known hiking area. As we started out, we passed several marked gold claims. The creek was running over the banks, some so the trail was a bit muddy. It was there that I first noticed two sets of prints. They were quite odd. They weren't boot or shoe prints, but looked like those Vibram shoes that have an individual slot for each toe. One set was very large, maybe 3 times the size of my lady's 6, and the other looked like a man's size 14. I didn't think that type of shoe would be good for hiking, but then I've seen people hiking in sandals. Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think those shoes with slots for each toe will be comfortable walking up a steep trail like that, because then you have a lot of blisters. But I don't think it's no sandal trail. It's Bigfoot. But here's a picture of the trail that this person's describing going on in Grayback Mountain. Bull Mastiffs are excellent trackers, and we're anxious to start following the footsteps. We continued on up the trail and came upon a lovely meadow. The flowers were just starting to bloom, and it was almost breathtaking. I would have liked to pause a bit longer, and although my dogs are well trained and normally very obedient, they were very keen to keep going. As we neared a rocky outcropping, we came across a dead deer just off the trail. I should say the front half of a deer, as the hindquarters were missing. Bigfoot probably just wanted the hindquarters and ripped them off to eat. I was surprised no other predator came around and started eating on the rest of it, but that's gruesome to see. Now, Brutus and Annie were getting very excited as I started looking around for what might have killed this deer, since it was obviously a fresh kill. For the blood was still freely flowing, we continued on, perhaps foolhardily, to the rocky outcropping. It looked like it would have been an ideal spot for a bear to hibernate, but I didn't see any signs of bear or any other predator. As I stood there debating whether to go on or not, the wind changed direction, and we all got a good whiff of a strong animal smell. It was a cross between the scent of an animal and a human with horrible body odor. I decided it was time for us to get back to the Jeep and find a different place to hike when Brutus rugged so hard I couldn't keep hold of his leash. He dashed up the trail while I was yelling for him to come back, and Annie was starting to wail. Now I was faced with having to decide to follow him or wait for him to return. There was no way I was going to leave him there. It wasn't long before the decision was made for me as I started to hear a loud pounding noise. It sounded like someone was hitting a tree with a bat. It was in a set of three, and then I heard another set of pounding coming from much farther away. Annie and I started running up the trail, and I'm blowing on the whistle I carry around my neck as we rounded the curve. We almost got run over by Brutus running towards us. He stopped long enough to bark at me and then continued down the trail. After several yards, he turned to make sure we were following. He must have decided we weren't quick enough and came back to encourage us to follow him. Now, bull mastiffs are loyal and very protective of their humans, so I followed his lead and we ran as fast as we could back to the Jeep. When we got there, Brutus was just shaking like a leaf and crying to get inside the vehicle. I unlocked the door and we all jumped in, not bothering to remove our packs or stop and catch our breath. Once we were back on Thompson Creek Road, I found a place to pull over. Brutus was still shaking, but starting to calm down. So we got out. I stowed our packs in the back and got the dogs and myself some water. We didn't go hiking that day, but stopped at a nice country park to relax a bit before heading home. I don't know what was there on that mountain, but it was scary enough to make a courageous and fierce dog back down. Jane Evans, Josephine County, Oregon. And here's a picture of the woods in the same area that she was describing. But man, I'm sorry she had to go through that. And I wouldn't want to find out who or what was making that noise either. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more book reading content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Quarter channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I said that's a wrap, and have a nice day.